I love it when we can hear the sound of the gong slowly fade. I invite you to turn to the people around you and greet them in their worth and dignity. I'm Bob Renjilian, minister here at the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County. Welcome. Welcome back. Welcome for your first time, your second, third time. We're glad you're here. No matter who you are, we want you to feel like this might be one of those places that you don't fit in. You have to go back to an old sermon I preached because when you come into you definitely don't fit, and I'm so glad, Howie. When we have places in the community that say, "Oh, we want you to fit in here," that means they want to change you. And doesn't make you more you. They want to change you into who they think you should be. And so I preached a whole sermon on don't fit in here. Be your unique self. Be more of your unique self, and may this be the safe, brave place for that to happen. Our mission is to support individual spiritual journeys and to promote social, economic, and environmental justice. I have a few announcements this morning. Dr. Mel Bringle is speaking at Good Shepherd Lutheran, a free lecture on hymns. It's at 3:30 today at, as I said, Good Shepherd Lutheran. And this is a sponsored lectureship. We are a part of the consortium that is putting on this lectureship. So we always have a lot of you show up, but I just wanted to remind you in case you forgot to put it on your calendar. The food drive is going on today. Some of you knew it and you brought in your food. Some of you realized, oh, that's right, it said it in Friday's announcements. And then you said, what do we do? Well, I'll tell you what you do. You go directly to the entryway, take one of the little slips with the shopping list on it, go to your favorite grocer. I mean, Unitarian Universalists are pro-choice about where you go for your groceries, okay? And you go get your pound of spaghetti, your pound of rice, your spaghetti sauce, your cream of chicken soup, and whatever, and then just come run right back and put it in the collections out here outside. We'll be running that for a little bit after the service is over so that you could still do that. And we'll get this collection going. If you happen to think of also getting a big bag of assortment of candy, that's great too, because by the end of the month, we'll be working our booth out at the Halloween Festival in downtown Brevard, attracting many potential Unitarian Universalists buy sweets. So we'll do that. I know that we also have it's interesting, it didn't put it on here, but I just typed it here. And that was, we have our Wonderful Wednesday. This Wednesday, here we go, Jennifer Frick-Rubert for October Wonderful Wednesday presentation, Seeing the Forest and the Trees, How Beneficial Mutualisms Shape Natural Communities. This is really great. Didn't I just say environmental justice is one of our mission things? This is really tying into our mission and the area and everything that we love about all of this. Now, for those of you who are new to this, we do ask that you sign up. There is a sign-up sheet on the countertop if you haven't done so online or in another form. If you're coming to the 5:30 meal, because we just have to know how much food to put together. But if you want to come to the 6:30 lecture, just on a whim, drag your neighbors along, whatever it may be, your hiking buddies, you can just show up at 6:30, that's fine. We only want the count for the dinner part. Now, a special announcement. Wow, I don't know how long we've been involved in this project, but I know it's been longer than I've been here. I invite Gary and Wendy, there we go, to come on up And why don't you do it from up here so you've got your mic to talk about Power Up.
Pardon? Welcome. Wendy, my wife, and I are I'm going to read this because Wendy said if I wing it, I'm going to forget things. Wendy and I are the Power Up coordinators for UU this year. Again, we're being supported by UU's social action team this year, which is really good. All the important information I'm presenting is on the bulletin board. So you don't have to take notes. I see everyone is getting out their pencils, but you don't have to do that. Power Up is an interdenominational annual fundraiser to help pay for home heating costs for Transylvanians in need. In addition to UU, St. Philip's Episcopal Church, Brevard Jewish Community, and the Lutheran Youth make up Power Up. Power Up began 9 years ago when Polly Everett from St. Philip's was doing Meals on Wheels. She went into homes during the wintertime and noticed the kids would get the meals really quickly and then bundle up and jump into bed because they had no heat at all. So she decided that the community should do something. She started Power Up. I'm not reading from here. This is bad, Wendy. I'm sorry. She teamed with Sharing House, who basically coordinates the reimbursement for home heating costs for those in need. Last year, they helped 1,300 Transylvanian households. That's about 10% of every household in our county who needed help with the home heating costs. It was their biggest, it's one of their largest gives of the year. And Power Up last year, in 1.5 hours, raised $50,000. So for us at UU, being one of the 4 units of this, it's one of our biggest, if not the biggest, community fundraiser we're involved with. So it's really important to us. And now I have to read. Power Up offers home-cooked meals and a drive-through fundraiser. We're making regular and vegetarian meals, which must be pre-ordered by 5 p.m. on the 16th of this month. While there is no charge for the meals, generous and very generous donations are gratefully accepted. You can pay with cash, credit card, PayPal, however people pay for things these days. There's a QR code that's also in the lobby that links you to the email that allows you to make the pre-orders, because we really, really want pre-orders. It's difficult for us to deal with people driving up and saying, I want a meal, but that's going to be worked in as well. So on October 19, between 4 and 5:30, if you've signed up, go to St. Philip's on Main Street. You'll stay in your car, you'll go to the check-in tent, then drive around, pick up your meals, say hi to Reverend Bob and Susan Mosley, who are going to be there, as well as other Brevard dignitaries. Make a donation. Listen to our own Karen and Scott, who are going to be playing music for the crew and for people driving through. And then you'll drive off to enjoy your meals and know that you've done something really important for the community. So aside from signing up for meals, you can sign up to make brownies. We're responsible for the brownies. We have to make 36 dozen brownies, so we need a lot of bakers. There's instructions at the sign-up sheet. We also need day of event helpers. We don't need a lot, but we need some people to help put up the tents and run the electric cords and do whatever else needs to be done. And also to pack, and we don't have to cook, but we have to pack meals. The social action team is getting people together to peel sweet potatoes and dice them up and to make rice, or I don't know how that's working. So it's a lot of fun to participate in, and we thank you in advance for doing this. October 19, yeah. And October 16 is the last day to sign up for the meal. Yeah. Oh, to Power Up. Just Power, P-O-W-E-R-U-P, exclamation point, but I'm sure they're cashable without the exclamation point. Thank you.
And now let us find our way into worship with our opening prelude by Scott and Karen.
The chalice lighting is by AI as directed by Jim Hardy. Jim Hardy asked artificial intelligence to conduct this chalice lighting for his service in August, and we are using it again this week. In this sacred gathering, we pause to recognize not only the hope that flickers within each of us, but also the gentle radiance we bring to one another's lives. May our presence this morning kindle compassion and warmth, inspiring us to reach beyond ourselves and offer light and love to the world that so dearly needs it.
Now we prayerfully light candles of joys and sorrows. I'll start with one that was sent to me. R.K. and K. Young asked for a candle of care for Lynn Roberts. And also a candle of care for Ginny Rush, who was hospitalized after a fall and has COVID. Our hearts go out to John as well. A candle for Linda Lander, who's still in transitional care, and to Don for all he does to be there. Understand we had somebody who was going to light a candle but forgot to for the recent shootings as well. Let's keep in our hearts all those who've died of gun violence. We'll light a candle for those things not shared, perhaps held in the hearts of those of you who are here or those who are online watching. With the light of these candles, the prayers that we lift up in our hearts, asking that all these things be lifted up and held up as part of this, our interdependent web. And knowing in our encouragement to spiritual growth of everyone, that we ask, O Spirit of love and life, that these joys and sorrows remind us of our obligation to one another, for we need one another to survive. Blessed be, amen.
The opening words are by Daniel Budd. Some of you may recognize Daniel Budd's words based on the popular opening song by Rumi. Come, come to this place, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of learning, all seekers after what is true, all who seek a community of compassion and diversity. Come, come to this place, whoever you are, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times and you're too busy and you don't have the time. Come, come to this place, whoever you are, lovers of wisdom, lovers of humanity, lovers of beauty. Come to this place where a love we do not make surrounds us and lifts us up and nurtures us. Come, come to this place, whoever you are. Ours is not a community of despair, but of hope. Not a place of judging, but thanksgiving. Not a place of certainty, but of searching. Come, come to this place, whoever you are. Come again, come. The first hymn is hymn number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. Please rise as you are able. The words will be on the screen.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have to inspire, and have not love, my words are vain, as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving soul my love profess, but not begin my love within, the prophet soon through centuries train. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirit songs to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed, amidst the worship and our feet.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Lausch, and this is our Wisdom for All Ages message. Excuse me. And this comes from Aesop's Fables, and I'm sure you know this or have heard it before. It's the story of the lion and the mouse. And so one day, the lion was in the forest, and he was napping his huge head on his big paws, and a mouse came just running along looking for little seeds and things to eat, and was trying to find this and that, and was really centered, looking on the ground, everything in front of it, just needed more to eat. And he ran up on the lion, actually bumped it in the nose, and the lion woke up and looked around and saw this little mouse, and the mouse went, eek, and tried to scurry away, and the lion just smacked it with his paw and held it there, ready to just crush the life out of it. And the little mouse said, oh, please, great lion, if you will spare my life this one time, have compassion on me, then I will return the favor someday. Of course, the big lion kind of gruffs and says, how can a little mouse help somebody as big as me? I'm the king of the forest, the king of the jungle. The mouse said, please just have compassion, and I will try and return it in the way I can. Well, the lion lets the little mouse go, as we know the story says, and the mouse runs on. Well, one day the lion was then walking through the forest, and he fell into a pit with a hunter's net in it, and he got wrapped up all in the net, and he could not get loose, even though he was the mighty lion. His angry roars filled the forest. Well, the mouse heard this and came running to the lion, and the lion was there in the hole with this big net on him, and the mouse said, I'm going to give the little that I can and try and help out. And the mouse knew, though, that if he tried to jump in and to help this big lion that was struggling and rolling around in a net, he could get squashed flat. But he was going to do the little bit that he could, because when we do the little bit that we can, we might have to risk something, and he was ready to risk it. So he jumped in and started gnawing this rope and that rope and this rope and that rope, and it took a long while, and his little teeth were so sore, but he finally freed the lion. And the lion said, little mouse, you gave back to me, which I didn't think was possible, but thank you for your gift. And the lion jumped out of the hole, the mouse climbed out, and everybody went on their merry way. What we're doing this month is we're focusing on building compassion, giving compassion to each other. the big ways and the little ways that we can. And the thing is, when we give, when we really give, we have to risk a little bit. But that makes the gift all the more worthy. So let's build compassion this month, and as always, because our world truly needs it. Now we're going to light the children's chalice, and then we'll sing the kids out to the kids' class.
Need an extra hand?
There we go.
Part of our spiritual enlightenment is recognizing that our hearts go out to others, that we give deeply from within ourselves some of the best treasure we have of our own very being, our own spirit, and that ends up in some ways on a weekly basis going through the spiritual exercise of collection, the donations that we make during the year as well. I'd like to invite Lisa McHenry forward because this being the first of the month, we have a brand new labeled envelope to go along with it for our special collection.
Good morning. Pisgah Legal Services is the organization we'll be sharing our donations with this month. They are a nonprofit organization that provides free legal aid to the most vulnerable people in Western North Carolina: disadvantaged children, seniors, at-risk families, and victims of domestic violence. Some of the many programs and initiatives include helping people with disaster recovery issues like FEMA appeals, eviction prevention, protection against frauds and scams. They opened up a disaster recovery hotline to make it easier for people to access help. Help for children includes assistance in avoiding homelessness, working toward preventing child abuse and domestic violence, and helping to stabilize families and living situations. Justice for All programs serving immigrants with things like securing legal immigration status and/or work authorization. Over 250 attorneys, along with other community members, volunteer their services. In 2024, 25,000 people were helped by Pisgah Legal. I spoke with Daniel Carey, one of the outreach workers who works here in Transylvania County, about the impact they're having in our local area. In 2024, 768 people in Transylvania County were helped by Pisgah Legal. More than 218 of them were children. Transylvania County priority areas are housing, helping to stabilize housing and prevent homelessness; safety, helping people to escape domestic abuse and rebuild their lives; health, assisting people with access to health care, including ACA insurance; income, helping people to increase their basic income, including free tax aid. Also, they've partnered with other organizations to help our immigrant neighbors understand their legal rights and help them navigate the current political climate. They've helped in so many ways with response to Hurricane Helene. Daniel told me one story about a man, Jimmy, whose mobile home was shoved to the edge of a cliff and severely damaged by a landslide caused by the storm. When he tried to get his homeowner's insurance and FEMA to replace it, He was told he would receive only negligible funds to repair its roof. Now Jimmy is living alone in a camper while a Pisgah legal attorney appeals his requests. His wife passed away a few years ago, and his father was killed by the storm. Navigating insurance and government programs on your own can be a daunting task, and Pisgah Legal's attorneys are committed to being part of Hurricane Helene recovery for as long as it takes. Cutbacks in funding have resulted in about a 10% loss in staffing, and it appears that more of their usual funding sources will be lost. Daniel said even though most of their funding comes from sources like grants, about a quarter of their revenue comes from private individuals and groups like UUTC. He truly appreciates our support. As well as our charitable giving financial support, we will be hosting a Justice Forum watch party featuring Dr. Imani Perry on October 23rd. Details are in the update. This quote from Dr. Perry really spoke to my heart. There is something divine about paying attention to people and places in our midst and understanding that we actually are, in some fundamental way, deeply connected. It allows us to see how we are part of the fabric of humanity. Thank you.
Yes, all of these chosen are tax deductible. But we would do it for generosity just the same. At this time, we ask the ushers to come forward, and we will gratefully receive the morning offering. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Ian. What is given in love, we receive with joy. Thank you. I don't know if any of you, as you prepare for prayer, are able to listen to a PG-rated prayer. I have changed a couple of words here. The words of our prayer are from Nadia Bolz-Weber. You may not know who this Lutheran pastor is, self-described on Substack as a foul mouth for a preacher anyway, grammatically challenged for a best-selling author, surprisingly hopeful for a cynic. Grace is the source code, but snark is the gift. We lift up our prayers in a unique Gen X way this morning. Dear God, please forgive me of how I acted when that Amazon truck was blocking my driveway the other day. In your endless compassion, you know my rage was really about every form of fear that I'm trying to keep at bay right now. How it all sort of broke through my exhausted defenses because I was coming home from the gym and was really hungry. When I see others not being the best versions of themselves, guide me to compassion for them, that in doing, I might also have compassion for myself. You know how fragile we are. And next time when I'm that hungry, please nudge me to eat a darn sandwich first and then respond to whatever it is that feels like it's trying to attack me. And when, oh God, I inevitably try and control everything and everyone in my life, please have mercy upon me. For you know that what I'm really doing is responding to how powerless I feel over every single thing in the news cycle every single day. Accept, O Lord, my excrement little prayer, for those are the only ones I have in me right now. We now hold this prayer and our own prayers and meditations in the silence. In the names of those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind, we say, Amen. Blessed be.
Guy who wrote this next song, named Paul Thorne. He was born and raised in Tupelo, Mississippi, which he says is the heart of the Bible Belt. And there was only one God, and his name was Jesus Christ, and that was that. And then he got older and became a professional musician and started traveling around and started realizing that there were all these other people who felt the same way, but about different things. So he came up with this song. It's called You Might Be Wrong. Muslim, Christians, Buddhists, and Jews got their own version of the truth. There's a line in the sand, there's a war going on. They forgot to remember you might be wrong. Carry your faith wherever you go. Mix it with love and let it show. And keep your mind open as you move along. And always remember, you might be wrong. Why do we argue? Why do we fight? And everybody thinks God's on their side. Count to 10 before you throw a stone. Whatever you believe, you might be wrong. Don't cut me off, don't say we're through. Just because I don't agree with you. You see, flowers grow where seeds of love are sown. You could be right, you might be wrong. Why do we argue? Why do we fight? Everybody thinks God's on their side. Count to 10 before you throw a stone. Whatever you believe, you might be wrong. What's on the other side of life? I won't know until the day I die. If you feel insecure, you are not alone. Everybody knows you might be wrong. Why do we argue? Why do we fight? Everybody thinks God's on their side. Count to 10 before you throw a stone. Whatever you believe, you might be wrong.
The reading this morning is by Shenjari Hove. It's in a collection called Poems to Live By in Uncertain Times, a meditation manual edited by Joan Murray, published by the Unitarian Universalist Beacon Press. Soon after September 11th, these were pulled together. So when they're talking about living in uncertain times, this is a very 21st century opening salvo into, well, angst, and bringing us back to a center. It's called You Will Forget. If you stay in comfort too long, you will not know the weight of a water pot on the bald head of a village woman. You will forget the weight of 3 bundles of thatch grass on the sinewy neck of the woman whose baby cries on her back for a blade of grass in the eyes. Sure, if you stay in comfort too long, you will not know the pain of the childbirth without a nurse in white. You will forget the thirst, the crackled, dusty lips of the woman in the valley on her way to the headman who isn't there. You will forget the pouring pain of a thorn prick with a load on the head if you stay in comfort too long. You will forget the wailing in the valley of women losing husbands in the winds. You will forget the rough handshake of coarse palms full of teary sorrow at the funeral. If you stay in comfort too long, you will not hear the shrieking voice of old warriors as they sing the songs of fresh stored battlefields. You will forget the unfeeling bare feet gripping the warm soil turned by the plow. You will forget the voice of the season talking to the oxen. I'm talking about cultivating compassion here. We're just out of the Jewish High Holy Days, and I always learn something deeply, have since I was a kid, knowing all the folks who have come to Unitarian Universalism through Judaism. Learning of the ways in which the perspectives are so different from those who would call it the Old Testament rather than the Hebrew Bible. Having a copy of the Tanakh and reading and trying to learn and study in a way that isn't from what you were mentioning, the Bible Belt, the one way to see what was holy. And so I'm reading a little bit here from Rabbi Lauren Grabel Herman. It's an excerpt from The Power to Choose, Embracing Self-Compassion. In the 10 days of turning repentance, Rosh Hashanah invites a critical eye and self-judgment as we consider the ways in which we have missed the mark and how we can do better in the coming year. Yet, according to Jewish tradition, Rosh Hashanah is in essence a day of rachamim, compassion, a midrash, or rabbinic teaching that says, on Rosh Hashanah, when the Holy Blessed One ascends to sit on the throne of judgment on Rosh Hashanah, God ascends for judgment. Once the people of Israel take their shofar and blow them, what does the Holy Blessed One do? God rises from the throne of judgment and sits on the throne of compassion, and is filled with compassion for the people and transform the quality of justice into the quality of compassion. And that was from the Vayikra Rabbah 29:3. What would it be if we, in the midst of whatever we were doing, stopped for a bit and said, we are judging ourselves. And we know all that is holy, also we are afraid is judging us. We need justice in this world. We need those moments in which we say this went wrongly. We also need the chance to wake up to where we go next. You know, the idea that I've said to you before, the translation of the word sin from the original Hebrew, ket, is misinterpreted throughout many religious teachings. But in Judaism, it is an archery term. It means you've missed the mark. And when you've missed the mark, you say, I did wrong, and you aim again. You are not consistently beating yourself up for the fact that you have made mistakes. You humbly admit that you have made mistakes. And then you decide you want to move on. And you can't do that if you believe that all that is holy is only adding up all the mistakes you have made. Just as you at 2 a.m. can only think about all the things you have done wrong and how you could have done them better. The idea that we could sound the shofar and awaken the people, and that all of the divine, in hearing that, shifts from judgment to mercy and compassion. An incredibly powerful piece that this last week should have been giving us. But we live in an era in which those of us and those we have chosen as our leaders wish to punish everyone who's ever done them wrong. It is as if their ears are stopped up and they do not awaken, nor do they ask anything of the holy to shift to compassion. Thomas Merton, the quote in a book called The Engaged Spiritual Life, a Buddhist approach to transforming ourselves in the world by Daniel Rothberg, is quoted as saying, it's not only our hatred of others that's dangerous, but also and above all our hatred of ourselves, particularly the hatred of ourselves which is too deep and too powerful to be consciously faced. For it is this which makes us see our own evil in others and unable to see it in ourselves. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha speaks of shifting away from a repetitive and hateful brooding of an enemy's actions, because it will never end hatred to be brooding like that. And so the author of the book, Daniel Rothberg, suggests 6 basic aspects of individual and relational opponents practice. Now, I know some of you say, I quote a lot of people, and then you don't know what it is. I'm trying to tell you how to live your life and actually function in this world that is so messed up. I'm reading from this book, The Buddhist Approach to Transforming Ourselves in the World, with these points. You don't have to follow it. Freedom of the pulpit, I talk about whatever I want. Freedom of the pews, you say, yeah, Bob, not me. But try this. When I was on sabbatical with my long-term congregation years ago, I went on Buddhist retreats. I tried to understand a Buddhist path, failed miserably, but I still like learning. So here we go. 6 basic aspects of individual and relational opponents practice, according to Daniel Rothberg. Forming the intention to learn from the opponent. I want to learn from my opponent. Reflecting in the ways that ease the dualism with an opponent. What might that mean? Me versus them? Suddenly ease that? You're not seeing the dualism, good and evil? Examining our actual experience with the opponent. Oh yeah, my interactions with this person haven't all been bad. Oh, all the bad parts haven't all been from my opponent, have they? Practicing internally with our reactivity in relation to the opponent. It's not their work to do before we've done our work. Practice internally. Practicing internally through loving kindness and forgiveness practices. Again, that is our constant work. And then, 6, practicing externally as well as simultaneously internally through increasingly non-reactive actions and responses to a given situation. Compassion means with passion, with feeling, with suffering. You're feeling with. The song that led into this time from Paul Thorne's album, Pimps and Preachers, that you played from. I looked up the words, and that chorus that you sang, Karen and Scott. Why do we argue? Why do we fight? Everyone thinks God's on their side. Count to 10 before you throw a stone. Whatever you believe, you might be wrong. There's a certain part of humility coming through the process of this past week of High Holy Days, in which we come to a point of saying we might have been wrong. Yeah, we were wrong. There's a certain point in understanding through Buddhism, loving kindness, that we need that for ourselves. We need to do some internal work. And we certainly need to do some internal work when it comes to those that we identify as being too terrible, too terrifying. They must be our opponent. Because if we do not approach one another and ourselves with compassion, we will forget. We're a year past Helene. How many of us have forgotten the number of folks who have shown up to help one another? We just heard a little bit of that in Lisa's description of Pisca Legal. How can we have compassion for one another throughout the storms of circumstance that beat at our lives? How can we remember back to a year ago at the height of the nastiest of political campaigns, what it was like to not be able to watch the TV and instead to greet our neighbors and say, "Do you have any food spoiling we could eat?" What would it be to remember back to the humanity and the compassion again and again on anniversaries? What was it that made our author, Shanjari Hove, write after September 11th, "If you stay in comfort too long, you will not know the weight of a water pot on the bald head of a village woman"? Why, after September 11th, would there be prayers and meditations for us to consider the people that we often forget? Because we have to cultivate compassion for one another. Our way of understanding one another comes through awareness of exactly not just what we're suffering, but realizing that others are out there too. Whether it's September 11th and a hurricane or whatever else that may be whipping through our lives. I know this week, from the pastoral care I've been doing, there are people in this congregation suffering. I know that in reading of what's going on in the world, there are peoples who are facing what's being called genocide. I know that there's gun violence that continues. And somehow I think we may have forgotten. We may have forgotten, and we may have, in fact, thought that God's on my side. I can throw the stones. I'm right. There's no way I could be wrong. Rabbi Esther Alder said there's a hierarchy of responses when we encounter suffering. Pity says, "I see your pain." She says, sympathy says, "I understand your pain." Empathy says, "I feel your pain." Compassion says, "I am with you in your pain, and I will help." There's a piece of what's going on in this world that is being carefully, officially declared wrong. And that is that last piece. I feel your pain and I will help. I got a notice the end of September of a center that was trying to do healthcare for subgroups of the populations they serve in ways that would be compassionate. And they've announced that as of September 10th, a new executive order from the president called Make America Healthy Again does two things that sound like, as they said, a setup for a bad punchline. It bans federal funding for programs using a harm reduction model to serve people affected by substance use disorder. I'll tell you a little more about that if you didn't know what I just said. It prohibits federal funding for programs that address disparities unique to specific demographic or identity groups, including LGBTQ and African American populations. What is it when you say you have a harm reduction model for substance use disorder? It means when you find as a nurse that a patient has come to you and they need medical assistance, and you can tell under the words that you would associate probably more frequently in society that they are addicted, they are actively using. In the old model, it would be that you would put on a face that would show no compassion whatever, maybe at most pity, in a way that means that folks who have a substance use disorder feel that there is no compassion for them to approach for help. Instead, a harm reduction model says, I see that you're suffering. Let's work on what physical ailments we can do. And please, can I help you live in such a way that you are taking care of yourself? Because you see, it's part of helping to recognize the humanity of the person in front of you and what you're called to do no harm to a person, so that they might be healthy and not go on to get hepatitis C, for example, or other things that might be associated with their drug use disorder. Can't do that anymore. The old way was to say, there's no hope for you until you choose to stop using. I would like the shofar to sound so loudly that those who sit in judgment might wake up and move over to mercy. I would like us to understand that there are many ways to approach problems. And as the song said, for those who are supposedly helping but instead are throwing stones, you know, you think you got God on your side, but you might be wrong. If we are to cultivate compassion for ourselves at 2 in the morning, if we are to cultivate compassion in our relationships, in being aware of others who are suffering, and be with them in their suffering and wish to help, if we are to do this and cultivate compassion, it would be as if we are creating another bubble, just like during Helene, where we're not hearing the noise of those whose hot air wishes to drown out the shofar. Thank you for listening. Our closing hymn is number 299, Make Channels for the Streams of Love. Why would I pick that? The title seemed just a great way to end. Make channels for the streams of love where they may go. As benediction, I offer you a breathing meditation. Please breathe in and say to yourself, may I cherish myself. And then breathe out and say, may I cherish others. To breathe in and cherish self. And breathe out and cherish others. And breathe in and breathe out. May you, as you go out this week, remember those two pieces to carry you through and bring you to the place of compassion. Blessings on all of you.